Hello friends, and welcome to the Solstice story weaving, the first one of its kind, and possibly there's more to come. Time will show. I'm sitting in front of a crackling fire. It's the eve of the winter solstice. It's quiet and cozy, and sitting here shrouded in the darkness of night, the fire whispering, with only a few candles burning, fairy lights glowing in the dark, the smell of pine needles in the air. The magic of this time of year is truly palpable. Solstice, the turning of the sun, or sun standstill as it's called in Irish, might be the most important threshold of the year. In the heart of winter, out of a star-speckled darkness, new life stirs once again. In Norwegian, it is called Jul, which refers to the sun wheel as it comes to a halt around solstice, before it starts turning again, set in motion by no other than the wildly powerful, strong, holy boar from Norse mythology, called Gullinbursti. The ancient Celts built huge stone configurations in honor and celebration of this turning of time, such as Newgrange and Stonehenge. According to the ancient Celtic Ogham calendar, we have now come to the end of the second moon, called Aum, which lasts from November 29th to December 26th. In the Ogham calendar, each moon is connected to and named after a specific tree, and Aum is the name for pine or fir tree and stands for the letter A. The Ogham is similar to the rune alphabet, as it was not used for usual correspondence or scripture. Ogham letters are used for short inscriptions, such as names or family relations. The Ogham symbols are usually engraved on the edge of a slab stone. The letters consist of vertical and horizontal lines and how they relate to each other. Sometimes they cross, sometimes they just touch each other. Both the Ogham and runes played a very practical role, but they are also symbols that transmit a certain spiritual and energetic frequency. The letter Aum is in the form of an equilateral cross, so a cross where each side is equal, just like the Viking sun cross, or the Indian swastika, or Bridget's cross, which resonates so deeply because winter solstice is like point zero, a time outside of ordinary time, when time stands still, when the wheel comes to a halt. There's also a connection with this type of cross and the North Star, which is that still point around which the other stars revolve, and which in some traditions is seen as a portal between worlds. But that is a story for another time. So, although Aum is connected to the pine tree as well as fir, and fir has been established over the past couple of 100 years as the Christmas tree, I will focus mainly on the pine tree in this story weaving, because I've found that the pine tree embodies the energetics of this special time in a very magical but less obvious way than its sibling, the fir tree. By connecting with the spirit of pine and inviting her to take center stage in our rituals and ceremonies, we might find how she unveils the subtle hidden magic at play during this time of year. A note for my Norwegian friends to avoid confusion. Pine means furu in Norwegian, and fir tree means gran. In wintertime, when the living world goes to sleep, the plants withdraw their chi energy, their etheric life-giving forces, and withdraw them into their roots. When bears and other animals hibernate, when insects seek shelter inside the bark of trees or heaps of autumn leaves, when swans and geese and swallows fly south to warmer places, when the sun wanes and the nights grow longer and darker, that is the time of year where the Celtic Holly King and the Cailleach reign. It is the time when the Germanic goddess Hel, also called Mother Holle, calls the souls back to her into the spirit world, a world of light deep down in the earth. During this time of year, other cosmic and spirit forces are at play than during the summer half of the year, when the solar energy is strong. During the summer, the animal kingdom is brimming with life. The earth, the plant kingdom, the insects are all humming with chi, called forth by the warming, life-giving energy of the sun. Other planetary forces like Mars and Venus chime in, and you have this full-blooming, beautiful bouquet of aliveness, of color, of scent, a firework of elemental expression. Here in the north, spring comes sometimes so fast, like in a couple of days even. So fast does it come, you can almost watch it like a time lapse. Flowers opening, leaves unfurling, plants growing several centimeters over the course of a couple of days. The winter half year, when the sun is absent, is ruled by forces of a subtle and opposite nature and expression. This is the time of the feminine principle embodied by the moon. But it is also the time of the ancient ones, Jupiter and Saturn. In the absence of the sun, in the absence of sound and color, our soul becomes quiet, more receptive of the subtle starlit messages of the ancient ones. They come in the form of white, tiny, geometrically perfect, sparkling snowflakes. Each one of them a message from beyond, a runic letter, a Ogham symbol transmitting magic from the ancestral and spirit world. A world ruled by supernal and crystal star forces that we can see take shape, not only in the beautiful geometrical patterns of snowflakes and crystals, but also in pine cones and in the symmetrical, even growth of coniferous evergreens like spruce and fir. You see, leaf trees grow cyclically, deeply aligned with the waxing and waning of the sun. They develop their leaves in spring, lose their leaves in the fall, and are bare during winter time. These kind of trees, like oak, aspen, birch, they often grow very individually and crooked, and they don't have leaves covering all of their branches, like fir or spruce, because they are sun catchers, each branch, each leaf reaching for the sun. Fir and spruce grow steadily, almost detached from time and the cyclical nature of the season. That's their connection to the ancient cosmic forces like Saturn. The Romans revered Saturn as some sort of godfather who they would celebrate during the winter solstice at a festival called Saturnalia. Saturn was a god from ancient times, known to have ruled during the Golden Age, a mythical period where there was no hunger, no war, no inequality, a place that has a lot of similarities with paradise. Santa Claus is reminiscent of the energy of Saturn, of that ancient, benevolent godfather, because he is kind and generous. He is a carrier of ancient wisdom who travels down from the stars, down to earth, to gift us with this crystal energy and astral information. So when we see Santa Claus, our soul is reminded that we too are astral beings, that we too are eternal spirit beings, starborn, essentially. But let me get back to the pine tree and its hidden magic. I don't know about you, but even before I learned the things that I'm about to share with you, pine was a really beloved tree. There were two things about the pine tree that touched me deeply. Firstly, there was the sound that the wind makes when it swooshes through the pine branches and rustles the long needle-like leaves. There's just no sound like that. It's so soothing and so beautiful. Lying in the summer on the beach, and the pine trees, and listening to that sound might be one of the most blissful things I know. And the other thing is the scent of the needles during the winter when you bring the branches into the house. They get warm and release their etheric oils. It's such a warm, beautiful smell that touches my heart and uplifts my spirit. So the pine tree is deeply connected with star wisdom, just like the other coniferous trees. The evergreens carry that energy of the ancient ones, the ones beyond time, and this is particularly true for the pine tree. Not only is it one of the oldest tree species on Earth, the oldest tree on Earth is a pine tree, which is close to 5,000 years old. Walking through a forest of evergreens and looking up into the night sky, star-speckled, wrapped in the scent of pine or fir. If you've ever done that, you too probably felt that particular quietness open up inside of you, inviting you to gaze into the depths of your own eternal, internal, star-speckled sky. I really feel that the sky around midwinter is a mirror of our soul. As a young adult, I had a poet friend who wrote about stars being the pores of our most outer skin, which rings so true, especially during this time of year. I have often felt that the stars are entry points where ancestral wisdom, spiritual guidance can pour into our being. And that at the same time, the stars are our dream seeds, our spirit seeds, waiting on the blue velvety ground of our soul sky to be called into becoming. Pine is so deeply connected with star wisdom, with the crystal's forces alive in the stars. It's reflected in its geometrical, triangular shape of its cone, and even the tree itself can sometimes grow in a triangular shape. Pine trees let go of their lower branches by themselves and can grow straight as a pillar, which is one of the reasons why they serve as maypoles in Germany as well as Sweden. Pine trees were also used as columns in Norwegian stave churches. There is a story that is being told among the Seneca people, a Iroquois tribe from the northeast of Turtle Island, saying that during a time of war and bloodshed, a peacemaker arrived to teach the tribes to live according to the law of peace by honoring and respecting each other's traditions and customs. After he successfully convinced the leaders of the 5 tribes, the peacemaker unearthed a pine tree and asked everyone to throw their weapons into the hole where the tree had been, so that the groundwater would wash away blood and death and clean the hearts of hatred and violence. Everyone brought their weapons and threw them into the hole. He then planted the pine tree back into its original place and taught the tribal leaders to meet under the protection of the tree with the long leaves, known as Pinus albus, the North American white pine, which grows its leaves in clusters of 5. Like the 5 leaves, the 5 tribes should stick together and rule in peace. The peacemaker gifted an eagle to them, which he placed on top of the tree to give the chieftains far vision should they need it. The peaceful rule that was established lasted for several hundred years. It is said that the tree grew roots, one in each direction, north, east, south, and west, and that if you sat under that pine tree and called back your energy from all 4 heavenly directions, you would restore peace inside of you. This is such a beautiful story, and I find it really speaks to the spirit energy of pine, the soothing, grounding, loving elder energy that is reorienting us to inner peace, restoring wholeness by protecting us and by expelling hatred and anger. It's so wonderful to see too how this is reflected in the medicinal properties of pine. It supports our breath and lungs. It moves phlegm out of the lungs. It is also a diuretic, meaning it moves our waters, the moon energy. And it works cleansing and supportive on the kidneys and bladder, Pine resin applied to the skin can pull out splinters and brings boils to a head, meaning it moves pus to the surface and out of the body. On the more subtle level, the flower essence of pine can help us if we carry a lot of guilt or weighed down by self-reproach and self-criticism. Pine silences the war our ego can create inside of us and strengthen the connection to our higher, illuminated self. Like all plant medicine, pine works on different layers of our being, depending on how we choose to engage with it. But always working to protect and strengthen our essence, working as a guardian of peace, light, and wholeness, protecting us from disturbing, unwanted forces. In Silesia, where part of my ancestors come from, people would burn pine resin during the 12 holy nights to ward off unwanted spirits, unwanted forces, and to bless the house and the people in it. After learning about pine tree's connection with the ancestral realm, learning more about its immense power to restore peace, I started sitting beneath a pine tree close to where I live, asking that my energy may return to me. I've also asked for protection and guidance from the star realm, from the ancestors, the ancient ones, spirit guides. And it's amazing to see how pine is like an antenna or a tuning fork, attuned to receive and transmit frequencies from that realm. And I invite you to try it out for yourself, especially during this time of year. Maybe you'd like to go for a walk and see which pine tree calls you, and to sit by its roots or lean back against its trunk so that your aura and the tree's aura can intermingle and overlap. Quiet the mind and open yourself up to receive whatever guidance comes to you. Every time I've engaged in this practice, I have left peaceful and inspired, sometimes carrying a specific message, and other times just feeling grounded and recentered and relieved from the anxiety that I can sometimes feel. It's not always that we have big messages come through, but Pine Tree is a living portal in this world where we can access and seek out when you need to either receive or send a message to the ancestral or spiritual realm. Engaging with the energy of pine through burning resin as incense, or taking a bath with pine needles, drinking pine tree needle tea, all of those are beautiful practices to open that door. And during the winter solstice, that door is open in a cosmic, spiritual way too. So what better time to amplify the energy present by working with pine as a plant ally during this sacred time. You might also want to clean your house ritually with a pine branch, as is tradition in China, where you clean the forest floor with a pine branch before an outdoor ceremony or ritual. In Japan, a bushel of pine is hung over the doorway, or a cross of pine wood is hung over the fireplace to ward off evil forces. So that's something I like to do. I like to place a bushel of pine on my door so that it blesses everybody that enters the house, and also protects the energy and integrity of the house and the people, the beings in it. If you're unsure how to best work with pine, ask her. Go to a physical pine tree or see her in your mind's eye and ask how she would like to assist you. Because she does, like the natural world, always wants to help us. If we come to her with good intentions for the greater whole, she really, really wants to help us. So go and ask. One way I like to work with pine as someone who can struggle with self-reproach and the feeling of never being good enough. Something many people can feel around Christmas is to take a honey and pine needle bath or to spritz pine needle water in my auric field to cleanse and protect and realign myself. The possibilities how to engage and work with pine are endless, and I invite you to play and allow your intuition to guide you. In Chinese culture, the pine tree was traditionally planted on graves because it was known to hold a lot of qi, a lot of life force, energy. And being planted on graves, it would slow down the decay of the dead body and strengthen the spirit of the ones left behind. This makes me think so much of a friend of mine who died recently. She had a deep love for the forest, for all living creatures, and she worked as a Shirin-yoku guide, a guide for forest bathing, forest therapy. And her grave is perfectly placed on the edge of the cemetery, where the forest begins, and it is overlooked by several beautiful tall pine trees. And after the funeral, when almost everyone had left, a couple of friends remained, hugging each other. And that's when we saw her song dancing through the pine trees. Like there was no wind before, and suddenly there was a swooshing through the trees, and there was no doubt it was her. It was November, but it felt so warm and spring-like. And in a spiritual sense, it was her spring, right? She was born back into the spirit realm. And she was born back into the light, and she shared that with us through her song dance in the pine trees. There is this wild thing about pine, that which makes her unique in comparison to the other conifer trees, and makes her a living portal, a transmitter of the hidden and subtle aspects of the solstice and Christmas magic. Pine is not only a carrier of the ancient crystal energy, she's also deeply connected with solar energy, in the same way the birch, oak, and aspen are. Pine is a bridge between earthly and divine, between the eternal and cyclical. She's not either or, she is both and. While fir, the traditional Christmas tree, is decidedly a coniferous tree, carrying its eternal and star energy only, pine embodies both cosmic energies. She is a tree of two worlds, a peacemaker, a mender. You see, coniferous trees are known for their resilience, the ability to grow in shade, having a steady, slow growth, almost detached from seasonality and cyclical time. Pine is a evergreen, carrying that eternal energy, and yet she also relates to sunlight in the same way a leaf tree does. Deciduous trees, leaf trees like oak, birch, rowan, beech, are extremely light sensitive. That's why, like I mentioned earlier, their branches grow crooked and in all directions, because they are sun catchers chasing the light. Pine behaves very similarly, growing crooked branches, her leaves only covering the tips of her branches instead of covering the whole branch like a normal coniferous tree, because she is so sensitive to light and needs to harvest as much sun energy as she possibly can in order to grow her woody triangular shaped pine cones. Just like oak needs sun energy to grow acorns. The woody cones are filled with resin, which is also dependent on an abundance of sun energy. And these woody resinous cones protect the seeds, not just from cold or water, but even from wildfires. Like, this is a superpower none of the other coniferous trees master. And it is because pine marries the ancient coniferous eternal star energy with the deciduous cyclical energy of leaf trees in her being, in her spirit. I believe that is why so many ancient cultures held her sacred, because she is a living bridge between the holly king of the waning year and the oak king of the waxing year, who reaches the pinnacle of his power at summer solstice. Pine is sacred because she is of both worlds. In Celtic lands, there is this tradition of the Yule log, the Christmas log. Interestingly, the Irish blochnolag, which is the Irish word for Christmas log, is made from pine, whereas the Scottish tradition is to burn a Yule log made of oak. The big piece of oak is kindled with a piece from last year's fire, and the ashes and cinders from the log are kept until first spring to be spread over the fields and folded into the earth together with the seeds. Pine wood burns white, bright and short, whereas oak wood burns yellow, orange and much longer. Because pine wood burns so bright, it was often used as candles. And there is a Scottish tale of a man who carries 7 pine sticks into a room haunted by 3 ghosts, who actually are his uncles. And the ghosts lose their strength instantly, saying, "Were it not for the slender lances of pine, this would be your hurt, young Donald Gorm." Like pine, like the earth has the pine tree, we humans carry in our human body a organ which is extremely light sensitive as well. And it is shaped like a pine cone, small like a pea, and it's nestled at the very center of our brain and aligning with the 3rd eye chakra between our eyebrows. It is called the pineal gland, and in many traditions it's seen as a spiritual organ as well as a biological one. The pineal gland is attuned to the circadian rhythms of the sun, and millions of years ago she was a light-sensing reptilian eye. So she too has this connection to the ancient Saturnal energy, but now being seated at the center of our brain, connecting all four directions, both hemispheres and the frontal cortex with the reptilian brain. She has the potential to awaken us spiritually. In the yogic tradition, awakening the pineal gland, the third eye chakra, is equal to awakening intuition and spiritual awareness. So, like the pine tree is the earth's entry point where we can receive star wisdom, where we can more easily access our intuition, where we are centered and connected to the essence of ourselves. The pineal gland is the entry point for those energies and forces within our own bodies. And the sound resonating with the third eye chakra is aum, which is very similar to the Irish word for pine, aum, right? Spelled A-I-L-M, which is part of the Celtic tree calendar I mentioned in the beginning. Our third eye is blocked by fear and negativity, but when opened, it bestows us with its gifts, like intuitive guidance and spiritual wisdom. The color connected to the third eye chakra is dark blue, like the blue cloak of Mary, like the dark blue of a winter sky at night. The pinecone, which was much revered across cultures. It is featured in Egyptian art and Greek rituals. It was used in Dionysian cults to decorate a phallic staff made from a fennel stem, representing the seed-filled testicles. It also served in Demeter rituals, Demeter being the Greek goddess representing earth and fertility. Pine cones were thrown into sacred vaults to give fertility to the earth and the wombs of women. In the Museum of Newcastle on Tyne, a Romano-British altar dedicated to the mothers, a trinity of female deities, shows a triangle pointing downwards with a pine cone enclosed in it. So there is a red thread weaving through all the different stories and traditions I've shared that speaks of a related energy that manifests itself in the pine tree as well as in our own biology and spiritual design. It has to do with marriage of the eternal energies of Saturn and starlight and the cyclical earthly sunlight, and how this marriage becomes manifest as a child of both worlds, a peacemaker seated at the center of our being, our heart, calling us to spiritual awakening through heartfelt guidance, offering us wisdom and peace. It is the energy transmitted through the image of Mother Mary and her blue star-speckled cloak, dressed in a beautiful red gown with the child of peace and light and love cradled close to her heart. That's the energy of the pine tree, the energy of the sacred time outside of time where our souls birth our essence, a child of light, in alignment with the cosmic happening of the rebirth of the sun. I have found this breathing practice that I'm about to share with you to be a beautiful way to work with these energies on an internal level. In the practice, we create a weave between our third eye chakra, Mary's cloak, the blue chakra, with the root chakra, which is Mary's gown, so to speak. So the root chakra, for those of you who haven't worked with chakras before, it's located between your anus and your vagina, or like the root of your penis. You can start focusing on your breath flowing in and out, creating awareness around your breath without changing or modulating it. You can then focus on your breath as it flows gently in and out, where you are neither pushing nor pulling the breath, but you're finding that sweet spot where your breath rolls out naturally on the out-breath, and where your breath fills your lungs naturally without effort on the in-breath. And that point where breathing becomes effortless on both the in and out-breath. And that point is about halfway through, and it feels like catching a wave and surfing on your breath. Once you settle in and have created breath awareness like that, you can start by breathing into the third eye chakra, your pineal gland, 3 times, followed by breathing in and out of your root chakra, ending the cycle by breathing in and out of your heart chakra 3 times. I visualize blue for the third eye chakra, red for the root chakra, and white light for the heart chakra, allowing my being to become an embodiment of Mary birthing Jesus, weaving my breath from above to below, to the middle, and into the third eye chakra again. My breath and awareness moving in the shape of an 8, weaving together earth with starlight energy, allowing a child of light, a being of both worlds, to emerge from the center of my heart chakra. So I hope the story weaving has inspired you to connect to the spirit energy of the pine tree, to honor her as a living bridge between worlds, a plant ally you can seek out when you need to realign yourself to your own essence or need guidance from a trusted elder. To get to know her as the child of light that she is. May the sweet smell of her resin awaken your inner knowing and help you recover lost parts of yourself. May you celebrate her, dance around her, honor her. I myself will be weaving a solstice wreath, honoring her as a bridge between earth magic and sun and star energy and magic. Clárseach an Críomh, the harp of the trees is what the Scots call pine because of the spirit song in her leaves. Isn't that beautiful? Clárseach an Críomh. I love that so much. May we sing along with her or sit still to hear wisdom whisperings from the other world on the wind as it moves through her branches and leaves. May we awaken the harp heart inside of us. May we weave a cradle in our hearts made of breath to receive light, peace, and love. May you be utterly, utterly blessed by this most sacred time of year.